everybody. Hope you are well before a holiday weekend for many of us. I'm just going to talk about committee process today because that's all I have time for at the moment. We are in the last few days of the Finance Committee's process, which meant that we had our final 2 public hearings on Monday and Wednesday this week. And in just a few minutes, we will go into a big screening meeting for the leadership of the committee and our nonpartisan staff to talk about the bills that we heard in those 2 committee meetings, which is a long list. It's basically all the remaining bills that we hadn't heard yet, and to talk about what comes up next, because our final deadline to pass bills out of committee passes next week, which means we have 2 important what are called JF meetings next week, which stands for joint favorable, which means the bills that pass out of committee successfully get that JF attached to them. Sometimes it's a JFS, which means joint favorable, but with substitute language. And that just means that we've had amendments following the public hearing. And that happens a lot because we learn a lot at public hearings. We have our nonpartisan staff analyzes the testimony. I read all the written testimony, as do many of the other leaders of the committee and the partisan and nonpartisan staff, and listen to the people who come either in the room or testify remotely on those bills. We learn from a lot of them, and so I have a lot of notes to review as we go into that. So that means in terms of process, this screening meeting will be to review those bills and figure out which ones will live on, which ones need a little tweaking before our deadline, which ones will be what we call work in progress, which often means that we understand, everyone understands that they have changes that need to be made to them in order to make them better bills, but that work may not be able to get done before the deadline, which means we make a promise to do that work before they get brought to the floor of either chamber, either the Senate or the House. So there are bills in all of those categories. And then in the Finance Committee, we also have to pass what's known as the revenue package, which is basically a spreadsheet of the items on the finance side, which is to say any tax relief, any tax changes, anything that affects the revenues that the state collects. And at the same time, the Appropriations Committee will be passing pretty much on the same days, possibly at exactly the same time, their spending package. And then, as I've said before, because we don't have a Ways and Means Committee in Connecticut, those 2 will not line up. And so then after those JF deadlines pass, then we get together and make sure that we pass the balanced budget, which we are required to do and which we do every year. So that's where I am. I spent the first 3 days of the week entirely in Hartford, and now I'm on screen all day today. And tomorrow, although tomorrow is a state holiday, so I'll try not to give people a little bit of a break, although I'll be reading a lot of testimony and making a lot of phone calls as well through the weekend and into that final date. So that's where I'm living these days. I hope you have a great weekend. Happy Easter, happy Earth Day coming up. I know it's also tax day. Not so happy tax day, sorry. I myself have some things I have to take care of on my end. But I hope the sunshine continues. It looks like a beautiful day today. And we'll see you next week.